morning, everyone, and welcome to Payroll Today with Ahola. Today, we will discuss cybersecurity and how it relates to payroll. The Payroll Today with Ahola webinar series will cover trends and topics that affect the entire payroll space when they happen, with the intention that all of our viewers are better educated. We thank you for taking time to learn with us. So now let's get started. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that we are not attorneys. This session is intended for educational and informational purposes only. We do hope that you find these presentations helpful and informative, but the information presented today should not, in any way, be construed as legal advice. As always, if you have questions about how this information may affect your business specifically, we recommend you consult your business advisor. My name is Oscar, and I will be the one to host the discussion today. I am the Learning and Development Department Manager here for Ahola. I've probably been with Ahola for over 8 years, and I bring a total of 11 years worth of payroll experience. Please feel free to reach out to me by emailing first initial last name, omejia@ahola.com, with any questions you may have regarding today's discussion. I will be happy to work with you and your dedicated payroll specialist and/or sales executive to answer any questions you may have related to the system or our services. For those of you who may not know a lot about Ahola, we are a family-owned payroll and HR service provider headquartered in Brecksville, Ohio, with 55 years of payroll, tax, and HR experience. We've served over 10,000 small businesses nationwide. Ahola offers a full range of payroll and HR services and software. So today, our staff of payroll, tax, and human resource professionals serve thousands of businesses by helping them with their human capital management needs. So today, the agenda is as follows. First, we will talk about the threats that we may face in the workplace. Some are common, some may not be. Then, we will talk about best practices for validating and verifying changes in isolved. Having continued visibility over sensitive data is key here. And finally, we will talk about some of Ahola's security measures with the intent to reassure all of our partners that we take the security of your business and data seriously. So with that, let's go forward and we will discuss some threats that we might face anywhere. But before we talk about the actual threats that we may encounter, let's talk about how affected everyone is when it comes to cybersecurity and the safety of our data. Threats to our data will continue to be a concern all over the world. As technology evolves, so will the threats we face in the cyber realm. And when we're not careful, successful attacks can be very damaging on a personal and financial level. Here's some statistics we found related to cyber threats that affected businesses all over. The first statistic being, according to NinjaOne, which is a national IT firm, their analysis found that in the United States alone, the most Googled type of cybersecurity threat in 2024 is phishing, with an average of 75,600 searches for the term every month. Later in this discussion, we will define what phishing is and how phishing affects our data. According to the U.S. Department of State, seen back in 2020, the FBI estimated that more than $4 billion was lost to cybercrime. Now that's just in the United States. Anything lost to cybercrime could be any type of attack, any type of threat, any type of breach to company, bank data, or even employee-related data. According to Forbes, in 2024, healthcare data breaches reached an all-time high with 276,775,000 457 records compromised. That is a 64.1% increase from the previous year. Now, within the same article, 87% of security professionals report that their organization has encountered an AI-driven cyber attack within the last year. And that's according to a new study by SoSafe, which is Europe's largest security awareness and human risk management solution. Now, with all of that information, as I mentioned before, as technology evolves, so can the threats that we face. And if we are not careful, this could impact us in some way, shape, or form. Now, this isn't all doom and gloom. We'll discuss the type of attacks because knowledge is power. So if we are aware of the things that we may face, we can better understand how to combat these threats. So let's talk about some of the threats we may face. So the types of attacks are as follows. Now, some of this information was provided by Fit Technology, which is an IT firm that Ahola works closely with. Fit did provide great insight to what attacks a company, an individual can expect. So I will go over some of these threats now. The first one being phishing, which I mentioned in a statistic earlier. Phishing is the leading tactic used by ransomware hackers. Phishing typically comes in the form of an email, a chat message, or a website which is designed to impersonate a legitimate organization. These messages often include a familiar logo and branding, and they usually create a sense of urgency to prompt immediate action. For example, it could be in the form of an email. You're working, trying to clear out all of your tasks within your inbox. You receive an email which has the logo, which has familiar names that you might be used to seeing, asking you to provide specific information that could be damaging if sent to the wrong hands. Now, one of the things that we want to be sure of is verifying, are we expecting that email, the source of that email, which we'll go over a little bit later. Another type of attack is called baiting. This involves offering something enticing, like a music download, certain discounts, or a flash drive in exchange for private information. Once the information is provided, malicious software is delivered to that device. Not as common, but it can still happen, right? The next type of attack is quid pro quo. This scam involves a request for private data. For example, a caller claiming to be from Microsoft or Google might offer free tech support in exchange for your username and password. We have pretexting. A hacker impersonates someone in the victim's trusts, usually an authority figure such as a supervisor. For example, someone posing as an employee's boss may request a worker to purchase hundreds of dollars in online gift cards and send the activation codes. And then we have tailgating. An unauthorized person physically gains access to a restricted area or system. Now, these are all types of attacks that we've either encountered or will encounter, not as just a company, but as an individual. Now, I'm going to go back a slide because I know that a bunch of us have at least experienced the quid pro quo. Now, we're not going to receive flash drives. We're not going to be offered some older technology and to allow these breaches to happen. But how many of us have received text messages from credible sites or saying, hey, we turned off your service, or you owe money for a toll service. Please click this website to pay your outstanding balance. You receive a text message. Any one of us who thinks that we have outstanding balances or unpaid bills that could affect our credit, most likely we are going to press that link and provide the information, which could be an attack. receiving phishing emails, or getting the pre-texting from, I guess, what we think is credible sources, which has a threat right behind it. So when we're thinking about certain types of attacks, let's consider ways, now that we know that they're out there, ways that we can prevent these attacks from being successful. So when it comes to phishing, quid pro quo, and even pretexting, let's not entertain anything that we are not expecting. We're not entertaining. So if you are not receiving or have spoken to a supervisor, a manager, the CEO of your company coordinating some of these events, don't entertain it. If you have access to an IT firm, an IT specialist on site, if you receive any suspicious email or text message, forward it to that IT firm or specialist so that they can investigate and ensure that any data will not be breached. Let's look at the email sources and the text number sources that these messages are coming from. If you're receiving from Microsoft and the website says www.microsoft.something with a bunch of gibberish right behind the address, well, then we know that could be some suspicious activity. If the number says it's coming from your CEO or manager or boss and it comes from an unfamiliar area code, we can flag that as suspicious activity. From there, you report it to your management, your IT firm, or your IT specialist so that they can take care of that fraudulent activity successfully. Now, keep in mind, not only does this happen on an organizational level, but this can also happen on a personal level. So let's be aware that our employees are equipped to handle these personal attacks to their information as well. Now, what can isolved do when it comes to keeping your information safe? In general, outside of the system, we can create internal policies for our businesses and then leverage the system to ensure that our information stays safe. Here are a few examples of how isolved can assist us in keeping our data secure. We can leverage multi-factor authentication when we log in, various reports that isolved will provide access to, and admin security roles. The first feature that isolved can offer is multi-factor authentication. This is standard for all users, employees, manager, supervisor, or admin level. I believe this is standard practice with any payroll software, and even having to authenticate when you're logging into other personal accounts as well, like bank websites. When it has been over 24 hours since logging into isolved, the system will send a code or an email. It'll send a code via email or via text. Once you enter the code, you can authorize the system to recognize your device. And a newer feature added to the multi-factor authentication is passkey login integration. For those of us utilizing an authenticator app, you can sync that process directly to the system so that your login processes are uniform. And like I mentioned, there's the passkey feature that'll allow you to log in by entering a specific code, or it can recognize your fingerprint if your device has that function. If you are logging in from a brand new device, whether it's another cell phone, a computer, or a tablet, isolved will automatically trigger multi-factor authentication. There's a newer, small, but very effective update, in my opinion, where the system will conduct resetting options if there are any compromised emails. So the system will recognize if an email has been listed as compromised and that has reporting done behind the scenes by the individual, etc. But the system We'll not take any chances, and we want to make sure that the necessary steps are taken when logging in and accessing sensitive data, like multi-factor authentication, applying authentication apps, or having the system recognize if an email being entered is compromised and allowing the system to trigger resetting options. Again, ensuring that your information for your employees stay safe. Another way we can leverage isolved to make sure that our data is safe is through the reports. Within isolved, we have over 400 ready-to-use reports, which cover all of our products and services. I've listed some specific reports here that cater specifically to data changes within the system. Starting with the new employee and change audit, I have self-service management and general payroll acknowledgement. Here is an example of the new employee and change audit report. This report displays new employees and changes made to employee records in the current payroll run. Before you process, if you access this report, as listed here, we can see various changes made to employee records. First noting pay rate changes, adding new earnings or deductions to an employee's record, making direct deposit changes to an employee's record. Now, another report that goes in tandem with the new employee and change audit report is the employee change log. If you type in employee change log in the search engine, you'll be able to navigate there. There are a couple of filtering options which will allow you to see various changes. You can provide a date range, and when that log updates, it'll populate any changes that you've designated within that date range. You can also see if anyone at Ahola had made any changes to any employee records. Full visibility, and again, knowledge is power. Now, the reason why this report is important, I'll explain a little bit later. Another important report or a dashboard is the self-service management screen. Again, if you type in self-service management in the search bar of the navigation menu, the system will take you directly here. This dashboard will allow you to view the status of all ESS, employee self-service accounts in your company. This includes login tracking and mass enabling and resetting options. So if you are recognizing multiple changes done by employees within ESS, you can go in and see whether employees are in fact logging into their accounts. You get to see the email addresses on file, their last login dates. Within that dashboard, you can inactivate accounts, you can reactivate accounts, or resend email registration options to those employees that have yet to establish an employee self-service account. This is very important to enable many of the employee self-service functions, whether it's on the computer, the tablet, or utilizing the mobile app. And that does feed into the employee change log when employees are making requests for changes to their personal data, such as updating their name. If there's a name change, they get married, they get divorced, they want to change their name. If they move, they can update their address. Within employee self-service, employees can update their tax filing status, and through the mobile app, the system will allow them to complete new W-4 and state tax forms in the system, as well as updating their own personal direct deposit information. If they were to close accounts, open new accounts, or reallocate funds between their checking and savings, they can do so within the mobile app. And then finally, for reports, we have the payroll acknowledgement. Everyone is required to acknowledge that they have reviewed the payroll summary, the payroll register, the exceptions report, and the new employee and change audit report prior to finalizing their payroll run. This payroll acknowledgement encompasses many more reports, but it's important to acknowledge because right under that acknowledgement statement, the system will notify you of any new hires added to the payroll in that current pay period. Any new direct deposit accounts added to your company account within the pay period, or any direct deposit accounts that have changed within that pay period. These collection of reports are important because if you recognize higher numbers in the changes of direct deposit information, that could be a flag of concern. Like I mentioned, employee self-service, especially through the mobile app, will allow employees to make personal changes to their information. If an employee's data, their personal data, their personal email, their cell phone was stolen, if any of that information was compromised on a personal level, someone can try to harm the company by changing information on the employee level. If they have access to usernames and passwords, someone can get in here and cause a lot of damage. At Ahola, we've had personal experiences of clients experiencing such damage. Unfortunately, they were not accessing the new employee and change audit report. Reports such as these, like the new employee and change audit, the general employee change log, would be able to show you what changes are being made to employee records. This can also allow you to cross-reference with the employees themselves to say, hey, did you in fact change your direct deposit? This is what I'm getting here. The employee said yes, you can push forward with confidence. If they say no, you can stop what you're doing and making sure that employee changes their personal information, you reset their employee self-service under the self-service management screen, and you report to the necessary authorities to make sure that no additional information has been compromised, as well as notifying Ahola, letting us know that employee information may have been compromised so we can take necessary steps to assist you in ensuring no damage happens to your company account. Again, knowledge is power. Accessing these 4 accounts or 4 reports, including the new employee and change audit report, the employee change log, will really help you flag any suspicious activity done on a company level or an employee level, because we need to consider our employees as well. Here are some Ahola security protocols that we take to help ensure that your data remains safe. And we consider it a priority to continue excellent customer service to all of our partners, which includes keeping your data safe. So one of the protocols is having a dedicated point of contact, only speaking with contacts listed on the accounts. Our operations department does maintain a book of business. We support many, many clients throughout the space. So we need to ensure that we are only talking to those clients listed on the accounts. So for you, what that means is if there is anyone you are delegating responsibility to, please, as soon as you know, notify your dedicated point of contact, your dedicated payroll specialist, or notify your dedicated sales executive of these changes. Maybe you're adding a member to the team and they need access to the system. Let us know in writing and we will be happy to add them. If you are to part ways with someone who has access to sensitive data within your account, let us know so that we can remove them and ensure they no longer have access to sensitive information. If that role is being replaced by someone new, you can let us know so that we may add their access, give the proper security roles based off of their responsibilities. So we're not giving them too much information within the system. And let's get them trained within isolved so that they can become familiar with the system the various solutions so that they can conduct their work accurately and safely within the platform. We at Ahola do not normally speak directly with employees for security reasons. Requests to employee information must come directly from the client admin. There is no real way for us to verify over the phone that the employee or whoever's on the other side of that phone is who they say they are. They can provide us sensitive information over the phone, like birthdays, social security numbers. And if we say, yeah, that's a match, we're giving away information right there. So that one instance gives reason to why we do not normally speak with employees. We have established relationships with the contacts for the various accounts that we service. So we like to continue that method of only speaking to authorized contacts for the payroll account. Ahola is SOC compliant. SOC 1 compliance is independent validation of a service provider's controls related to financial planning. So that'll ensure that service providers handles their clients' financial data with necessary safeguards and specifically addresses internal controls over financial reporting. Now, SOC stands for Security and Compliance. SOC audits are conducted by independent certified public accountants or licensed SOC auditors. So Ahola establishes internal policies and we volunteer ourselves to these audits annually to ensure that we are continuing to provide excellent customer service to all of our partners. In the event of any type of breach, we do have a disaster recovery policy that we are ready to implement if and when these things happen. Now, of course, prevention is key. Knowledge is power. Things do happen, but we have plans in place so that we can keep you guys as safe as possible. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we give clients and partners access to the full changelog in isolved. So if you're authorized to manage, you process your payroll, you're managing your timekeeping through our time and attendance, you're the benefits administrator for your company to make sure that employees are within open enrollment and selecting benefit coverage. We give you full access to the changelog so you know what is happening in the system when it happens. Now, some security best practices. Take advantage of multi-factor authentication. There may be a couple of extra steps involved, but the system can ensure that you and your employees are logging in safe. Please do not share your login access with anyone. If someone needs access to the system and they're delegated to do the same type of work that you are responsible for doing, give them their own login information. All admin users in isolved should follow the best practices. So again, don't give personal information out. Make sure you take advantage of multi-factor authentication, making sure that the security roles are accurate. Next, preview, preview, preview. Always review your reports before submitting your payroll. Again, the payroll acknowledgement can give you flags to any suspicious activity, and a little investigation can prevent a lot of damage and prevent damage financially as well. Take advantage of electronic workflow approval processes. Like I mentioned, ESS can allow employees to make personal updates to their name, their address, their tax filing status, as well as direct deposit information. We can establish electronic workflow approval process so that when employees request submit for changes, the system will notify whoever needs to make that approval to review the information and accept or reject that request for change. The electronic workflow approval processes can also flag and prevent any suspicious activity in the system. Let's try to establish internal policies to ensure company data security and integrity. Let's make sure your employees are equipped with the knowledge on what to do if they're receiving or they suspect fraudulent or suspicious activity at your work site, making sure they secure their workstations before they leave their desks, and making sure that there's policies for receiving visitors and guests walking throughout the building. Those type of internal policies can really help ensure that your data is not being compromised. And that leads to establishing defined responsibilities and access for each user. Everyone understanding what their role is at the workplace, what their role is within isolved. And with that organization, you would have full visibility of what is going on, who is doing what. And with that, your data could be a little bit safer. A lot of information. Again, it is not all doom and gloom. Knowledge is power. This is intended to assist us and guide us in keeping us safe when we're navigating all of our sensitive employee data. With that, I thank you for your time. If there are no questions for me, please enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we will speak again next month. Everyone, please enjoy your day.